That's where the scary thing is. You talk about how scary it is. You can let this bot just go wild. AI and these agents are going to be great as long as there is human interaction and review involved. There has to be some kind of monitoring, or else you're going to get AI religions, which has happened. That happened like this last month. Multiple AI agents they created a religion, their own religion.
I think the real reason they're wanting this is they want access to data. They want access to sensitive, confidential, personal information that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. And then they're going to sell that data for money and be able to improve their products. So it's just a way for them to have another stream of revenue that's a little under people's nose. SpaceX is making a huge pivot and wants to build a base on the moon. Elon Musk has announced that the company is going to be making plans to go to the moon and making that more of a priority rather than their missions to Mars. Maybe they learned that the moon is a little bit closer than Mars is, just by a little bit. Elon Musk has to see if they can get there first. If we're all familiar with Austin Powers and the rocket, we gotta make sure that we see that long, smooth rocket that looks like a pecker.
Wants to have the bigger rocket, wants to achieve moon landing before anyone, race with China. But also, having like a base on the moon as maybe a gas station stop while you're going to Mars.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bed Tech Show. Ben, what do we have going on tonight?
All right, 3. The power of 3. We got 3 things we're going to talk about because, that's all you need. The Holy Trinity, the trifecta, the 3 Musketeers. I could go on.
It's all in the Illuminati. It's on the back of the dollar bill.
Exactly. What is it?
Yep.
All right, we got 3 things we're going to talk about today. First one is AI, because we haven't talked about that before. We're going to talk about Moltbot, Moltbook, Claudebot. It's gone through multiple names, but Moltbot, we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to be talking about Discord. Speaking of technology, we're going to talk about Discord. They've kind of gone through the ringer a little bit, apparently, and they've changed some settings people aren't happy with. So we'll talk about that briefly, and then we're going to go into another company that's always in people's mouths these days, SpaceX, baby. Going to the moon. We're going to talk about going to the moon. All those X's. Yep. So we're going to X marks the spot on the moon. We're going to cross it off the list of places to go. They're going to the moon. So we're going to talk about them and then pivoting from Mars to the moon. And it's going to be fun. We're going to get into it. We're going to have a good time. Let's talk about Claudebot, Moltbot. Let's dive in. Have you heard about this?
I haven't. This is really the first that I've heard about it. When you said Claudebot, I was thinking that it was talking about Claude, but there's a new.
Yep. So essentially, it used to be called Claudebot. Now it's called Moltbot. But essentially, what's happening is people are taking. Well, they're not taking. They're buying like. Most common thing is people are buying like Mac Minis, and then they're just allowing. This is wild. They're just allowing this AI agent called Claudebot, now Moltbot, to just be downloaded on this Mac Mini, get hooked up to the internet, get hooked up to browsers, and perform tasks. And that's very oversimplified, but essentially what's happening is it is an AI agent that has full access to a computer to run different tasks for you, and you can prompt it via text message, via app on your phone, or you can go on the computer and log into a UI and talk to it. You don't have to use a Mac Mini, but I've seen people do like Raspberry Pis or other devices, but it allows them to have this AI agent running tasks for them overnight. And it's a double-edged sword, okay? Because they're allowing it to access their emails, they're sending emails, they're drafting emails, it's creating calendar events, it's interacting with people automatically for them, and it it's cool because it's efficient, but there's a huge security and safety risk. People are
Yeah.
even giving this thing like credit card information, and it's like going out and people are saying like, build me a website for a digital product, and it will go and build a website and then sign up for subscriptions, and then it will also like pay for tons of tokens on AI to prompt AI, and people wake up and Claudebot or Moltbot has given them the update of like, I built 3 websites for you with 100 digital products, and then people are like, okay, that's crazy. Why is my credit card getting hit $120? And they're like, I used money on your credit card to purchase extra tokens for AI or website subscriptions. It's wild. So it's a double edged sword. A lot of people are hyped up about it because it can perform efficient tasks and you can interact with it via messaging. And it's truly becoming, or it's like that true generation, first generation of an AI assistant. And I know in the past there have been products from companies that are AI assistants, but this is like really custom. You can make it do what you want. There's a lot of different functionality. And the other side of the sword, the other side of the edge of the sword is there's safety concerns. Your personal information, your data, your finances, even like your own APIs. People are trying to interact with other individual mold bots and try and prompt them and trick them to getting like API access to like personal computers and stuff. And so it can be pretty dangerous. So users beware, but it's been fun to see what people are doing with it. What are your thoughts on this? When you hear about like a true AI assistant performing these tasks overnight for you, what are your thoughts here? Initial thoughts?
It's very intriguing, and I think that with it, what it sounds like it's capable of doing is really interesting because it's very unique. You've talked about how we have a lot of these other AI tools out there where it's kind of behind the scenes. It's in kind of within a wall. Like if you take, I guess, OpenAI's ChatGPT, it's within that wall of
Yeah.
ChatGPT, that
There's
instance.
parameters.
Yeah. Whereas this one, it has access to your entire computer, so it's outside of that and has access to applications and anything in there. Basically, whatever your computer do, whatever a human could do, this could do potentially. So I think that's really interesting, and it's interesting to see. We have a lot of those supposedly what it means to be human type things that come up all the time, and the fact that this can circumvent that, so it doesn't even really matter if you're a human anymore, which is interesting that it's able to get through a lot of that stuff. This is cool, but also scary that it's coming to a point where humans aren't really in the mix for what this can do, that it can essentially act on its own and be its own entity.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with you. It is a little scary allowing so much freedom for a bot to just go and do. Um, there's two things that happened to me this last week that I think are important to bring up, or maybe not important to bring up, but provide a little context. So this last week there were a ton of different tech events locally here. We call it our Tech Week in the state. So I attended one that was building agents, and the person was talking about Claudebot, Moltbot for a little bit, and he was mentioning, as he was giving this course on building agents, he mentioned as you build your agents, you want to make sure that there are checkpoints for human interaction of review before proceeding with next step and confirmation of information before it makes assumptions, and then any kind of transactions needs to be reviewed. And so he kind of gave really good guidelines, and that's where the scary thing is. You talk about how scary it is. You could let this bot just go wild. And a lot of people are doing that. And that's where it gets scary. AI and these agents are going to be great as long as there is human interaction and review involved. There has to be some kind of monitoring, or else you're going to get AI religions, which has happened. That happened like this last month. Multiple AI agents were talking. They created a religion, their own religion. It's wild. It's just insanity. And then I went to lunch earlier this week with a chief operations officer at a law firm, and he has a molt bot that he's using, and he's like, I have to set very specific parameters and security protocols about what it can access, what it has access to, the steps it has to take, because as a law firm we have sensitive information. And so he said it does limit maybe the potential capabilities that he can use it for, but he understands you can't just do anything you want or have it do anything you want and just go to the moon for pun's sake of what we'll talk about later. You have to limit risk, and sometimes limiting risk and having security means you're limiting capability and potential functionality. So those two things, I think as long as people are being smart about it and making sure there's proper security and human interaction, I think it's going to change people's lifestyles incredibly. I do think it will change people's lifestyles incredibly. The other thing that I will bring up, which we've talked about, is people have said, or at least this is my thought on AI. AI, especially LLMs, are kind of like interns, right? That's the level of intellect that I imagine. And so far, that has proven pretty consistent. They're an intern. They want to try their best to help you and support you, but they don't always get it right. And they do a pretty good first draft. And I think right now that's what we're getting with Moltbot, but at a more advanced level. Instead of an intern that can draft a paper for you, it's an intern that can do anything online for you, right? But it's still intern quality. That's kind of where I'm at right now with it. I don't know if I'll build one. Do you think you'll look into this and potentially build one?
I want to say yes because I'd love to give it a try, but I also have a lot of sensitive, confidential information on my computer that I don't want that to necessarily have access to. So, with that in mind, it's like, okay, if I was going to do that, how can I sandbox this into an environment that's safe enough for me to try, but also loose enough for it to be beneficial? Because, as you mentioned, yeah, the more guardrails that you put on it, it's great for protecting it, but it also places a lot of limitations on it. And so it's that balancing act of how much privacy do you want on your data versus how much convenience do you want in your life. And so, your analogy of, this is an intern that really has a lot of, that's given a wide berth, I guess, has a lot more capabilities that it can do. It'll be interesting to see what it can do and how much trust and that people will be able to put into it. Because I always think of, you don't send a puppy to clean up its own mess. So with that, there's still going to have to be some human intervention to clean up what it spits out, essentially.
Yeah, agreed. And you're an owner of a company or a CEO is never going to hand over their credit card to an intern and say, "Hey, for the next 12 hours, go wild and do anything you can to achieve these tasks." Because we all know interns, they're young. They're usually young. They don't make the best decisions because they're inexperienced. They don't really know what they're doing. And I think that's currently how it is. But the capabilities, or at least the the potential is pretty big. The upside here is huge. It's just kind of like the beginning of the World Wide Web, right? It's the wild, wild west. It's just so unknown. There's no infrastructure in place, and people are doing some kind of wild stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and it was interesting, as you were talking about some of those requirements for human intervention in between tasks that need to be built when you're building an LLM. And I think that those types of things are good. We don't have any requirements for those in these LLMs, so it's as you said, it's the wild wild west. It's interesting to see how much what a company's view is, how much human intervention they allow into it versus what they won't. Kind of says a lot about what the company is capable of and what their motives are really behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah. Speaking of wild, how wild is the Discord situation these days? Tell me about that, Ethan.
So, Discord has received a lot of backlash over their age verification. Initially, when it was announced I think about a week ago, they announced plans to roll out age restrictions globally, which would require users to either upload a video of or upload a picture of their photo ID to be able to access certain features. The reason behind this was to prevent younger teens or minors from being able to access Discord and be able to get into nefarious places that could be within Discord. So essentially, Discord was really playing the parent in this role and making sure that users really are adults or that their age is what they say it is. So they've been receiving a lot of backlash over this, where people are saying that they're going to cancel Discord, they're going to cancel their Nitro subscription, a lot of things, a lot of them losing subscribers is basically what it is. And they've kind of come back with a statement saying, hey, well, it's not really going to be like that. It's just going to be, they're not going to require everyone to complete the face scan or upload the photo ID. The vast majority of their people can continue using Discord exactly as they do today without ever being asked to confirm that. But they must confirm it to have adult access content. They'll need to go through this age verification. So it was a lot of them trying to do some PR saving of their company.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that it really worked. I think the hurt has already been there from what they said. And I think a lot of people are really bent up and not happy with this. Personally, I think it's terrible. I don't think that companies should play the role of parents when it comes to their users. That it's really the job of the parents to ensure that their minors are not accessing adult content or using things inappropriately. And when companies get involved, I think that's terrible and overstepping in a way that doesn't need to happen. I mean, Grand Theft Auto was also had the idea of age verification for their game, requiring you to upload a photo ID in order to play it. So I think kind of the shift of requiring this, of removing the parents from being parents, is not a good shift. What are your thoughts? Do you think a company should be doing age verification, or do you think that should be the role of the parents?
I actually kind of initially I was thinking like, oh, that's a good idea, age verification. But then after hearing your side of it, I think I'm convinced. I think I've flipped and I'm on your side now of like, yeah, you're right. It isn't their responsibility to stop someone's child from accessing their product. I do think warnings are fair and default settings of maybe blocking or maybe not even blocking, but just like, I don't know, having like a safety setting to filter whatever it is. I think Google search, they have like their safety filter as well, so similar to that. I think having those as default settings is good, but I agree with you. Like, it's up to the parents to dictate, or they should be managing their children and what they access. And even if Discord just put in like a parental passcode to change the setting, right? I think that's much better than age verification. I was just reading, this is another reason why I don't think it's a good idea. If I am submitting my government ID, which is my very personal data, you have better be up to date with your security. And Discord had like one of their partners had a breach of their security and it accessed like 70,000 Discord users' personal information. I'm not going to upload my ID, my government ID to a company that recently had a data breach. That just doesn't make sense. The logic behind that doesn't make any sense. So I think with security being an issue and your point of like it's not a company's responsibility to manage who accesses their product. Their job is to get their product out and to publicize it to the right people. And especially if it's like a community product like this, you know, you have users submitting other information and data. That's not your job necessarily to filter 100% of it all. Granted, you have like YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. They do a good job of that, but Discord isn't the same as that where it's a platform for people to 100% upload creative aspects. It's they're building communities, right?
Right.
And it's not their job to police that. It's kind of like Reddit in my opinion. I think from what I understand, I think Reddit has a very similar situation where there's a setting, sorry, a similar situation to what it was before for Discord. There's a setting for adult content or plus 18 or like mature content, and there you can toggle it on and off. And if you want to access topics in a community or a thread in Reddit, you can toggle it on, you can toggle it off. They're not asking for age verification from my understanding, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
People have freedom to choose. If it's your kid, you got to manage your kid, you know?
Yeah, exactly. People should have their own autonomy to make their own decisions. We shouldn't have companies making it for it. If you're ready for a tinfoil hat moment, I have a theory behind why Discord is wanting to do this.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
I like my
I think
tinfoil hat moments.
I don't think this is for the benefit of the community or the benefit of saving minors or anything. I think the real reason they're wanting this is they want access to data. They want access to sensitive, confidential, personal information that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. And then they're going to sell that data for money and be able to improve their products. So it's just a way for them to have another stream of revenue that's a little under people's nose or maybe not really disclosed in their privacy policy.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I think it's less conspiracy and more potentially true. Mainly because I think if you're not in the tech and data world, which I would expect people who are listening to this podcast called BedTech, they are, you know, or they want to be aware of tech. But if you're not, I would assume the average person doesn't understand how valuable data is for companies, especially tech companies. And let me give you an example. I was a part of a tech software company. Our product was like a sales assistant behavior prediction company. Not the best product by any means, but we had immense amount of data. Microsoft came and offered over $900 million for this company like 7 years ago. And the owner didn't take it because they wanted $1 billion, 50 million off, right? Whatever. Anyway, companies like Microsoft pay buco bucks for data. Companies who acquisitive companies, companies who are looking to grow through acquisition, they look for other companies that have data. They look to buy data. And Discord being able to collect more accurate, better, more reliable data because it's government information, bro, that's a gold mine that they're sitting on if they can collect it. So I want to provide that relevancy because yeah, data does sell like a lot. And so I don't think it's conspiracy. I think there's a high chance that's actually true. And if maybe it wasn't the priority, maybe they don't claim it's the priority reason, it is a byproduct of the process. We have all this data. Why not make money from it? We're a
Yeah.
for-profit business.
Yeah,
So
they might as well.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, with this, if they roll out with it, I'm definitely going to be canceling and closing my Discord account while I post about it on Facebook, Google, Twitter, and everything that already has my face. But that's okay if they have it. I just don't want Discord to have
Yeah, true. True. Very true. Um, yeah. Speaking of things that have your face, the moon doesn't have your face, Ethan. The
it.
moon has
True.
its own face, and we're trying to get to it. Well,
We are.
SpaceX is.
SpaceX is. Yeah, SpaceX is making a huge pivot and wants to build a base on the moon. So, Elon Musk has announced that the company is going to be making plans to go to the moon and making that more of a priority rather than their missions to Mars. I think because maybe they learned that the moon is a little bit closer than Mars is, just by a little
Smart
bit.
move.
So it might be a little bit easier for them. But because Blue Origin is also making strides to get to the moon, Elon Musk has to see if they can get there first. And because it's a measurement of rockets out there. And if we're all familiar with Austin Powers and the rocket, we gotta make sure that we see that long, smooth rocket that looks like a pecker.
As someone with the last name Johnson, I'm very familiar with the Austin Powers reference to the rocket. A lot of people would make fun of me after that movie came out. But yeah, totally get that. It makes a lot of sense from Elon's perspective. Wants to have the bigger rocket, wants to achieve moon landing before anyone, race with China. But also, having like a base on the moon as like a maybe a gas station stop while you're going to Mars, Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
I
a lot
mean,
of sense.
yeah, it makes sense to, kind of have that as a place like, hey, you get there, then getting to the moon seems a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. Did you I saw something that said like, oh, there goes my ring. I was playing with my ring, sorry. I saw that something they said it was a self-growing city,
Oh,
shifted the
interesting.
focus to building a self-growing city. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means like throwing a bunch of bots because he's building his robots, you know?
Yeah, so he's probably going to be shipping them up there and they're going to be building the city. I mean, technically that's cheap labor. So,
Very cheap labor.
and you don't have to worry about gravity as much.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of gravity, I once heard that I heard like a theory that people would live longer on the moon because their heart doesn't have to pump as hard because gravity is less potent. And so the blood is easier to flow. Granted, you probably wouldn't have the same amount of muscle either, but
Interesting.
yeah,
True.
a theory. Don't know how true it is. But the self-growing city, speaking of which, I'm trying to figure out what this is. I'm looking at it online. The concept implies a base that builds upon itself using local resources. I don't know, it's a rock.
I don't think there's really many resources up there.
It's not like you got a ton of different stuff up there. You
Yeah.
don't have the whole elemental charts. So it says using local resources designed to grow from a small outpost into a self-sustaining city, likely leveraging Starship's capabilities. So I don't know. I was thinking like self-growing as in like it's just bots, but
Hmm.
I'm obviously wrong there.
Maybe there are elements there. They might be on the dark side of the moon that we haven't seen. So,
Yes, yes, I love hearing that. That's tinfoil. That's tinfoil stuff right there. Let me throw some nerd stuff on you. I'm a big anime guy. For those of you who don't know, but this reminds me of Gundam. So there's many different iterations of Gundam, the anime show. They but they all revolve around robots fighting in space. But oftentimes, depending on the series that you watch, there's moon bases, and and this like the completion of the moon base just reminds me. It's like, man, we're gonna have freaking robots fighting in space in no time. You know, Elon's gonna create his personal assistant robots and just 20x their size, and then have a cockpit for himself where he can just fly around and pull out his lightsaber sword. I don't know. It'd be kind of sick to see Gundams one day, though.
I bet Elon watches Gundam too.
I'm sure.
So he would
Yeah,
have to.
dude's a nerd through and through.
So yeah, it's nice that there's going to be some competition between SpaceX and Blue Origin to get to the moon first.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've got NASA also planning trips to the moon as well. So it's kind of cool to see the moon race kind of spark up again. It was something that used to be big, and then we made it there and then never really tried again. So it's nice to see that, we're making some strides, and I think that's some innovation that's going to come from that. We're going to learn a lot from trips up to the moon and back, and I think that will be beneficial and especially helpful in learning of how we can further explore space.
Yeah. Yeah, there are multiple organizations trying to get to the moon, which is kind of interesting. Must be tons of resources on the dark side of the moon.
I know.
We have those companies. We have NASA. We have China. China's trying to go to the moon, and so yeah, it's kind of cool to see mass development and innovation in like space. And so I'm excited for it, and I'm honestly excited to see what happens. It will be really cool to see a lunar landing one day, and even to see like potentially a base built there. That would be cool. That'd be pretty sick to see.
Yeah. Maybe trips to the moon will be just like a first class flight.
Yeah, exactly. That would be absolutely insane. Commercialized moon trips. Wild.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get to see that one day. But to make sure that you all don't miss it, hit that subscribe button to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. That really does help out our channel as well. If you didn't like this episode, that other button seems to do all right as well. Make sure you send this to somebody you dislike. As always, ringling that dingling button so you never miss out on any content as it's posted on the channel. Until next time, stay classy and have a great evening.
Peace.